In this video, I want to talk about pricing and budgeting and how I think about it in terms of your AI tech stack. So let's get right into it. All right, so let's start off with ChatGPT. Now, the reason why I'm starting here is because I think this is probably one of the most popular AI tools out there. It's certainly in my tech stack and the one that I use the most along with Claude. And they have a 4 tier, as far as the individual is concerned, a 4 tier pricing structure, whereas they do have a free model, just like a lot of them, or a free tier, just like a lot of them do, right? But in terms of pricing is concerned, the way that I think about it is when you look at this $100 a month tier, this one is aimed at a different target audience. And when you look at all of the major players, right? The major players in the AI house, the AI space, they pretty much all have a $100 tier. And most of them have a $20, it could be 17, 18, 19, $20 tier in terms of their plans. Now, I don't think most people can afford the $100 tier from one of these AI platforms. And if they can, they can't afford it multiple times over, right? Because there are many, we'll say, content creators or power users who have the $100 tier on multiple platforms. And so that's something that we have to think about too. Just be real with ourselves. That's why I wanted to make this video, because I had a thought process of a strategic way of going about it, or maybe it's just the way that I just go about things in general. But in terms of the $100 tier, I was like, okay, if people were watching this and they only had $100, how would they spend it if I were them? How would I spend that $100? Because there are times where I am on the $100 tier. I go back and forth depending on my needs, right? When it comes to using these AI models. And so right here we have ChatGPT, and then right here we have Claude, which we see a very similar scenario, $17, but it says 20 if billed monthly. Whereas a lot of people are paying the $20, they're not paying for the year of Claude Pro. I would say pay for the year of Claude Pro, just in case their costs fluctuate and go up. They're really not going to go down, but in case their costs go up, it helps lock you in for the year. And then I'm sure they're going to charge you more that next year. They're not going to grandfather people in. That's just how Anthropic works. I'm not saying that that's exactly what they're going to do, but that's just my opinion on how they kind of operate things. But nonetheless, I rock with the two of the most ones that I rock with on a daily basis is ChatGPT and Claude. That's how I look at it, right? And I look at it this way: if I were to use that $100, how would I spend it between the two? Is it worth to have both of them $100 or just one or the other? Or I could definitely say that ChatGPT, you're going to get a lot more token usage out of their models. They're more efficient. And to demonstrate that, let me go here to this chart from Deep SWE or Deep SWE, however you want to say it. And we'll look at this chart. It's deep SWE.datacurve.ai, as you can see in the URL here. I think I'll put this in the description. But this is one of my favorite platforms to look at how, the cost and the efficiency of the model, or the cost and the accuracy, add up to that efficiency. Oftentimes we don't think about every time we prompt the AI, there's a cost to it. And so let me make this a little bigger here so you guys can see this. There's a cost to it, right? And let me turn all these off here because I don't want to get cluttered. That helps with confusion, and we don't want to help with confusion. Let's oops, like I said, select all, and let me go to Claude here, and then we'll just do Kimi. And since Flash 3.6 just came out, I guess I'll throw that in here, even though it don't hold up. Now, the reason why I'm not going to do the other models is because I'm using the top of the different AI platforms, right, themselves. So that's why I'm doing it this way. So we have, Opus would be that. I do have Opus, okay, because some of y'all are probably like, I should do Fable, right? So I'll do Fable, just because some of y'all are on Fable still. Now, when it comes to these AI models, we have as it's going up to the left, it's costing more, right? As it's going to the left, it's costing more. As it's going up, it's more powerful. So to the left costs more, up, more powerful, more accurate. That's why they have most efficient when you have to the far right, right? Or northeast, as we say, right? We want that to be northeast. And so when we look at Sol and then we look at Opus 5, they are very close on this trajectory. However, Sol, as of today, has it. You know, when you're at the max, you're only paying $8.39. This is average estimated, so per task, right? $8.39 for the max of that. Whereas Claude Opus 5, you are paying $12, and you're not really going much higher than extra high or than on Opus or max on Sol. So you have to think about AI this way. When you're using these tools, your mileage would vary, and that $20 is not just $20 and you can use it however you want to use it. So you have to think about the efficiency, the costs, right, and the accuracy. I'm very much interested in using the top AI model that I'm able to use based on my plan, right? That's the main thing. I don't like using the middle or the lower ones as much as I like using the top ones for heavy work for the most part. So when I look at these AI platforms, right, and using the AI, yes, they all have a different vibe to them. We know that. They all have a different vibe to them. But in terms of cost and efficiency, we can see that Sol right now is like, this is where I look at it. When I look at where's that sweet spot, right? If I were to think of like this porridge is just right, I'm going to look at that sweet spot around here, around this area right here. And that would be Sol, ChatGPT Sol, 5.6 Sol at $3.47. And that is similar. You see how they're right next to each other. That is similar to Opus 5 from Claude at $3.29. That's that sweet spot right there. So right here is the sweet spot in this area right here. And obviously even more in this middle part right here in terms of getting the usage out of it. So you have to think about that. Then you have to think about which AI platform, which AI company is more generous, right? So if you were just to benchmark, or if you were just to weigh or compare these two right here, you'd be like, well, they're the same. If I spent $20 with ChatGPT, if I spent $20 with Claude, and I'm only using this model at that effort, shouldn't it come out the same in terms of usage? The answer is no. And that's why I wanted to make this video, because a lot of people don't understand that. I'm not going to go deep into it. I know we're on Deep SWE or Deep SWE, right? I'm not going to go deep into it because other content creators do a way better job than me. I like to break things down in layman's terms. Sometimes some of the things I say, depending on your level of understanding, may be a little over your head. But for the most part, I like to make it very human, very down to earth, very grounded as much as I can. And just share with you all how my mind processes it, because some of the stuff is over my head, but I still use it. So think of it this way, right? These two are very close to each other in terms of benchmarking, but you have to use it. You got to experiment. You got to experience yourselves to see whether or not it works for you in that way. That's huge for you to think about. However, let me get back to the other part. One of the things I love about using ChatGPT and how that $20 is not equal to that same $20 you're spending in Claude is because ChatGPT, as of now, how long they will be doing this, I don't know, but as of now, they do resets. So when you are using your ChatGPT desktop app, right? When you're using your desktop app and you're using your agents, because it's a little confusing how they have it right now. So I'm gonna make a separate video really going deeper into explaining it. But for the most part, you have your ChatGPT and you have your Codex when you're inside the work part of ChatGPT. Then you have your regular chat here. When you're in the regular chat here, I don't think this even matters or is relevant, right? So yeah, when I'm in ChatGPT, I can go from chat to work. In work, this will use my plugins, and this will also touch my computer. So it can control my computer. It'll use my plugins or connectors, as they call it in Claude. Okay, so I just want to let you know that. In Claude Code or Cowork, very similar thing, right? So in Cowork, I can touch my connectors and it can touch my computer within a limitation of a sandbox. In Claude Code, I can take it out of the sandbox. So not only can it touch my connectors, it can also control my computer and do it as much as I want to do it. So that's why Claude Code is more akin to ChatGPT work, because whether you're in ChatGPT or the Codex side, As long as you're on that work part, that's why I said it's confusing how they have it. The ChatGPT agent can touch your computer. They often do resets. So out of the blue, you will see it say, and what I like about it is they got rid of the 5 hour. They did that recently. So when it comes to the usage limitation, now it's weekly. You don't have a 5 hour, so you can use all your usage within the same, consecutively. You don't have to wait for 5 hours after you use up your usage within 5 hours. You have to do that with Claude, and it does get annoying when it's like that, right? You have this 5 hour, and then you have the weekly, right? And then you have obviously the context window. And so because they do random resets where they will reset your account randomly to 100% again, and on top of the fact that they will give you resets where you can decide whether you want to use them or not. People call them banking. That's what I've heard. Like, let's let us bank it, right? Put it in the bank. So, because sometimes it's cool for them to do a random reset. Sometimes it's annoying because you're like, well, my thing was getting ready to reset anyway. So why, I wish I would have had it reset at a different time. So they give it to you and you can decide whether or not you want to use a reset. I love that. When it comes to that $20, that's what I mean by it's going to go way further than the $20 with Claude. That's just in my opinion. Now, one can argue years ago, even months ago, in terms of the smartness of the model, right? It was Claude hands down for the most part for a lot of tasks, right? But now ChatGPT, OpenAI has caught up, and that is no longer, in my opinion, a viable argument. Yes, they have their different flavors, but they're both juice. You know what I'm saying? They both are going to quench your thirst. It just depends on how they do it for the most part. And you can see it based on these charts right here that they are right there with each other. OpenAI is now a huge competitor in the accuracy and efficiency space, whereas before you thought it was more like Google that was up there where you see 3.6 flash. So I'm assuming 3.6 or 3.5 Pro is going to have to be up here somewhere. Google got somewhere to go with it. But that's why I'm saying $20 is going to get you a long way. Okay. Now, when it comes to $100, that's going to get you even further if you have $100 to spend and you want to spread that out. So let me go here real quick. Let me go back to my iPad. And we'll say we have 20 and then we have 100 right here and right here. If you have 20, I would say Chat GPT is going to get you the best bang for your buck if you got 20. If you got 100, we're going to spread this out a little bit right here. Boom. All right. So if you got $100, let's talk about it, right? Because $20, I'm saying ChatGPT for like AI, right? If you had to use $20, buy one AI platform that's going to give you a Swiss Army knife of things to do. That's the key thing, a Swiss Army knife of things to do. Now, I know somebody's watching this saying, well, I would do it with Kimi, or I would do it with DeepSeek model, or I would do it with something else. That's fine. We all have our preference. I'm talking about, for the most part, for the average everyday person usage in terms of being able to use the voice mode. In another video, I talked about voice mode, right? The being able to do tool calling, being able to build applications and sites and things like that. ChatGPT just has one of the best. I have to say it. Just functionalities all around as an all-round app. Claude is getting there, but it has its quirks. That's why I use it for specific things, but I do use it in an all-around fashion as well too. But if I had $100, and I'm gonna give you guys a gem, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna give you a gem that I saw somebody else taught me from another channel. I don't know who it was. I forgot his name. Shout outs to that person. But I just saw it randomly and I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta tell my people this. So for $100, I would definitely say $20 for ChatGPT. I'm gonna come back there, but just wait. $20 for Claude. So now we're at 40. Okay. So let's go back to the iPad. We'll say chat. We'll say Claude. And then we'll say, let's say 20. 20. And then now let's kick it up a notch. We have our two generalist apps, right? Our two generalist genius apps that can do a lot for that 20, especially if you use them together. The next one I'm going to go to is going to be 11 Labs. Now, why would I say 11 Labs? The reason why I would say 11 Labs is because you need a specialist at audio. And that's not what ChatGPT or Claude is great for. Now, yes, you can do some audio things with Gemini's AI models, but that's not what they specialize in. 11 Labs is about audio, and audio in so many different ways. Text to speech, speech to text, sound effects, voice, music. I mean, their audio is, you can create conversational agents. Their audio is superb when it comes to AI. They are my favorite one, and that's why I believe they are worth it. So if I had $100 to spend, they are definitely going to be within that $100, especially the fact that they have an MCP connector on both Claude and ChatGPT, right? So if I go here and I go to connectors and 11 Labs right here, and it's also in ChatGPT, so I can tell my ChatGPT and my Claude agents to connect with 11 Labs, create some type of audio, right? And boom, I now have audio in the form or the fashion that I want it in. It's crazy. It can even create an agent, an AI conversational agent for me in 11 Labs. The MCP is so powerful. It has so many different tools. It's crazy. So if I were you, this is what I would do. I would either use the starter or the creator. Obviously, try the free, start out with that. But we're talking about if you had $100, not if you don't have no money, right? If you had $100, I would say starter or creator. I would do the creator. You're going to get way more mileage out of the creator. You need those additional credits, especially if you're doing a lot of transcription. Their transcription feature is the most one that is what I use the most, is their transcription. I transcribe a lot of things, right? A lot of meetings, a lot of calls, a lot of different scenarios. I transcribe, and all I have to do is take the audio and put it in the text to speech to text, and it transcribes it, and it's like 99% accurate. Perfect, right? So $20 a month. Great when it comes to accurate transcription and all these other aspects too. So boom, let's go back to here and say, I'm just gonna say 11 Labs. 20 bucks. That's a terrible 20, but you get the point, right? All right, bam. So right now we're at $60. $60 when it comes to our $100 budget spend. All right, so the next one, and this one is more recent, and this one is a very popular trending one as well too, but it's going to be Higgsfield. Higgsfield is increasingly or getting popular as the days go by, and they have all the major video, image, and even audio AI models. Now, some of y'all can say, okay, well, if they have audio, well, why would I use 11 Labs? It ain't the same thing, okay? It's not the same thing. But I will say this, the fact that they have it is dope. So Higgsfield is basically all about all these different image models. So when you think of the ChatGPT, you see GPT Image 2, they have that model right there. Image 1, you can choose which model you want to use. You can't do that in the ChatGPT app, right? You can't choose which model you want to use unless you have it connected to something else. It's going to use the GPT model. Claude doesn't even have an image model. Claude doesn't have a video model. So you have to think about these things as well too. ChatGPT doesn't have a video model, right? Or an audio, well, it does, I guess they have it, but it's not the same thing. At least not within the app. So that you need to think about, if you had $100, you want your two specialists that are generalists. You want you want two of them. You don't just want one, because they have different perspectives. They can be biased, but if you can have them meet in the middle, or you can meet in the middle and between them and make that final decision, I'm telling you, you're going to get 10 times the work done. You're going to make 10 times the decisions that you ever would have made had you not had these tools to be able to use. They're not replacing people, but they are alternatives of you having nothing. They're better than nothing. So I would say Higgsfield is definitely that you want to look at. Look at these video models. Kling, Sora, Oh, ChatGPT did a crazy thing with Sora, right? They thought they were going in. They thought they was cooking. Let's see, Google. I mean, they have all the major ones that you can see. And when it comes to the pricing, here we go again, a $20 plan. They have a $20 plan. Now, I'm not talking about the business plans for those of y'all out there, because most of y'all aren't doing these business plans, at least not watching this video. Let's keep it all the way real, right? Now, if you're interested in the business plans, go to the business plan. But I'm saying if you only had $100, how would I spend that? I would say Higgsfield, $20. It also has an MCP where I can tell Claude to connect to Higgsfield, or I can tell ChatGPT to connect to Higgsfield, and it can make my video or make my, because that's the main thing I would use it for more than anything, is the fact that it can make these really crazy videos. Now, yes, you can do audio as well too, like I said, but I already have 11 labs for that, and you can do images. So image as well too. I would connect the Claude or the ChatGPT agent. If I did not want to use the image model out of ChatGPT, I would connect it to Higgsfield through MCP and be able to use it that way. That's how I'll do it. So we have to go down here and do another right here. And I'm just going to say Higgs. $20. So as you can see, we have ChatGPT for 20, Claude for 20, 11 labs. That's supposed to be an 11. I know that looks crazy. 11 labs for 20. And then we got Higgsfield for 20. Okay. How much is that? Obviously 80. Now, this is why I said we're going to go back to it, because this was a secret. Now, this is one of those situations where it just depends on how much you want to do this and how you want to apply this hack here. Because that's basically what it is. Until they patch it up, if they will, they maybe won't. I don't know. Who knows? Who cares, right? But when it comes to this hack, this is the coolest part about ChatGPT. And this is what I just learned. And I've been doing it. Trust me, it works. I told you that ChatGPT often resets. They give us free resets. They let us bank one, or sometimes they just do it for us. It just depends on whether or not they want to, and their choice, right? They don't have to do it. It's very generous for them to do that. They give us a reset. Now, when you think about it, these $100 tiers are just, oops, I'm not even showing, my bad. Let me make sure I show the thing. All right, now we're here, So when you think about it, these $100 tiers are just like 5 times. So see how it says 5 times or 20 times? So if it's a $200, it's 20 times. If it's $100, it's 5 times. It's just 5 times the amount of usage. You have to think about it that way. So if you got the $20 tier twice, then that's 2 times the usage. Most people who don't need the $100 tier, right? Like if you don't need the $100 tier, don't get the $100 tier. You may only need, and I'm telling you, I think most people who have the $100 tier don't even use the 5 times or 20 times. I think they use 3 times, 4 times, right? Some people use it 2 times, especially if they hide certain features or they have certain features only behind this tier, right? And it's not just based on usage. Then some people will buy the $100 for those other features, right? For the most part. But I noticed that a lot of people don't even use the full amount of that $100 tier. And so with ChatGPT, and I think you can do this now, don't quote me on this because I have not tried it with Claude yet. I've had no reason to, not yet. But with ChatGPT, what I've done is I've created 2 separate accounts. I have the account that, as you can see right here, well, actually, this is the new account that I created. And then I have my main account. And what you can do is you can log out of your desktop app. Just log out of the desktop. This is not the web. I'm not telling you about the web version. Log out of the desktop and then log into your other account that you paid the $20 for. And the best part about it is when you do that, all your projects, because remember, when you're in the desktop app on ChatGPT, same thing with Claude Code, when you're on the desktop, and I keep repeating myself because some people, I kid you not, they still don't understand the difference. When you're on the desktop app with ChatGPT or Claude Code and you create your project folders, right here, it says create a project name, and you create the folder right there, it's on your local computer. So therefore, if you change out the account, the folders are intact. They're still there. That does not change. The folders stay there. That is a game changer for those who don't want to pay for the $100 tier. They want to use the $100 and spread it out, but they may need 2 times or 3 times the usage of a specific AI app, right? And that's why I pay 2 times for ChatGPT. And then 1 time, I may buy the 2 times, I might try the 2 times with Claude, but I know for ChatGPT, I paid 2 times, and therefore I'm getting even more efficiency and more resets. Because remember, I told you they reset the app often. So every time I get 1 reset, guess what? I get it in my other account. If I get 1 bank reset, I guess what? I get it in my other account. You see where I'm going with this? So therefore, I could have. There was one time where they gave, and I think they did this multiple times, but I remember recently, they gave us 2 resets in the bank. They resetted it themselves, then gave us 2 resets in the bank. So therefore, on my other account, I had 2 resets. So now I have 4 resets banked, and which would give me 5 times the, 6 times the usage. If they reset it and gave me 2 banks, that's 3 times the usage. Then in my other account, same thing. That's 6. You see where I'm going with this? So you got to think about it that way. You're not getting that with Claude. That's not how Claude works. And yes, this is somewhat of a hack, but it's also somewhat of what ChatGPT is very generous, and they're letting it happen. The same way you can use your ChatGPT subscription with your Hermes and your OpenClaw. And Claude was way more stingy with it. That's why I'm saying you'll get a lot more out of it. Now, I'm not talking about which one is moralistically right, politically right. We ain't getting into all that right now because I have my beaks with both of them. In terms of just the efficiency, just of the budgeting, the costs per token usage, and then also their generosity in general, you're not doing much more than that. So therefore, I have to add ChatGPT $20 2 times. That's my 100 right there. Boom, 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 boom. That's my 100 right there. ChatGPT for 40, Claude for the 20, that makes 60. 11 Labs for the 20, that makes 80. And Higgsfield for the 20, that makes 100. That's how I would budget out my AI tech stack. And that's how I am budgeting out my AI tech stack. And when I need the $100 tier, I will get it as I need it. But I realized that there were times where I wasn't using it, and I was forcing myself to try to use it, if you don't use it, you lose it. That's how this works. And I was like, nah. So I'm glad I ran across that video that gave me that hack. I think that was real sweet to be able to look at that and be able to see, how this whole thing works, how the whole aspect of budgeting your tech stack, right? And getting the best bang for your buck. Let me know what y'all think about this. If you learned anything today, let me know in the comments. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. My name is Maestro Stevens with Iconic Templates, and I'm out. Peace.